right,
There goes
so
that.
introductions. I'll go first because I'm talking.
She's Ginger O'Snap.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Introduction.
All things wonderful.
Oh, I'm Ginger O'Snap. I am a costumer, cosplayer, actor, MC, burlesque performer. I like to wear costumes and talk into a microphone, so they keep letting me do it.
She's everything.
So that's what I do.
Literally everything.
I'm every woman. Okay, my background is in musical theater and costuming and dance. So I grew up sewing and making props for theater productions. Every day was Halloween. I was always that kid that went way, way, way too hard at Halloween, and my mom fully supported that, which was her eventual undoing because here I am. And then when I got started, cosplay really wasn't a thing, but I loved nerd things. I loved all things sci-fi and fantasy and horror. And so I started going to conventions and wearing costumes because that's what I wanted to do. And then it just became a cultural phenomenon. Like as nerd culture became mainstream culture, cosplay culture went with it, which is amazing. So that's me. That's what I do. I am Nashville based. I travel all around to conventions and give panels and host costume contests and judge costume contests. And I perform all over the country.
Just
So
being awesome.
That's what I do. Thank you. Hooray. Me. I'll let you introduce yourself. You're going to go.
Well, hi, how's it going? My name is Mutant Glue. I have been cosplaying since 2019, professionally, that is. This started out as just a regular hobby like everything else, and then all of a sudden, some kind of way, some magical kind of way, I blew up. So now I'm here with the lovely Ginger O'Snap, who is just absolutely everything, and I get to do the same thing she does, except I don't do burlesque. But that's besides the point.
I have a question.
Yes,
You blew up?
I blew up.
You got better? Like you exploded?
I exploded. Yes.
Oh, you look great.
She looks like she's in one piece.
I know. I'll ask you later. I don't understand.
What I mean by that is I'm noticed a lot more. That's what I mean by that. Thank you.
Thank you. What's your name?
Mutant Glue. My actual name is Crystal. So just
You don't have to go doxing yourself.
you just asked. Did you not just ask me my name?
I have a question for you. I've always
Yes.
want to ask this one. It might put you on the spot, but how did you come up with Mutant Glue?
Oh, that's easy.
Okay.
Photographers came up with that name for me. I didn't know that there was actual profession in cosplay, and I did a photo walk with them, and they asked me, are you going to do this professionally? I'm like, you can do that? Really? So then I said, well, okay, I did a cosplay name, come up with a cosplay name. They said, okay. So they said, okay, well, you've already cosplayed as Storm. I said, yeah. He's like, you like mutants? I'm like, yeah. He said, okay, so first name is Mutant. Last part, cosplayers use glue. So, glue.
Excellent answer. Thank you.
And everybody calls me MG.
Love it.
So there you go.
I didn't know that story. I'd never asked. I'm a bad friend.
I was gonna
never
just stick my
asked
neck
either.
out there.
Oh, we're both bad friends.
Have
Okay.
we just I told you. Okay.
No, I didn't
that's
know.
Just me
Thank you
being
for
a bad
sharing.
friend.
She's just
and I have
Oh,
the memory of
that's
a
on me.
goldfish, so I'll ask you next week again. So don't worry.
He just asks every time he sees it. Speaking of, you're talking. You have a mic. Who
Oh.
are you?
Okay, my name is Derek Gilbreath. I'm primarily started off as a puppet builder, and got into, unfortunately, the words of I can build that, and so I ended up getting into sculptures, doing sculptures of Weeping Angels, mine out there, and I got into cosplay because I had my Weeping Angels and my other sculptures out there, and I had nothing else to do. And I went, oh, okay, I'm bald, I'm round. Devin Moldovar from Doctor Who. That's how I do. I'll paint myself blue. And I did such a good job at it. I got to actually meet the actor who does that, and he was like, good job. And then it became an addiction. And now, Principal Nezu of My Hero Academia, presently working on my live Yoshi, which I want to have ready for now. But now I get to hang out with some of the most lovely ladies and gentlemen that you could possibly hang out with, and I'm always honored to have that. But also, my new thing is I do a lot of product reviews. Like she said, the cosplay technology is kind of what I'm into. It's like what products are out there. And then also safety. Don't kill yourself doing crafts. Okay, so that's my new spill right now. Is a lot of times
Don't come to my garage.
Huh?
Don't come to my garage.
I won't. Not without an organic respirator.
OSHA is not checking your garage.
No,
That's what I'm
it's
hearing.
like-
Okay.
So without further ado, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not a professional cosplayer like these guys.
She lies.
Yes, she is. She is. We have proof.
No, I'm not.
Do people pay you to make costumes sometimes?
Huh?
Have people paid you to make costume pieces for them sometimes?
Yeah, but that's
Okay.
a maker, not a cosplayer.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, you're a professional costumer then.
Yeah,
So
that's
there you
true.
go.
Are you not an awesome work?
We'll get into the difference in a minute.
Yeah, there is
We
a
won't
difference.
argue with her right
Coming soon.
So I'm behind the scenes more. I do cosplay, and they're okay. But I
Again,
build
she
for other
lies.
people more. Stop. I'm Dee Volpe. I run Cosplay Collective. I founded it about 8 years ago. The reason I founded it is because let me first say, I've been costuming since I was little, and I'm not telling you how old I am because they call me mom. If that tells you anything. I've been
No,
doing it a
don't call
very
you mom,
long
but you're-
time. I was
more like
I was
wife.
that kid that built the most
only
elaborate
'cause she
costumes
lets
for
us.
Halloween. And I've been an artist all my life, so I've done art shows and things. The best thing I've ever done is get into cosplay. And this most favorite thing I've done is create Cosplay Collective. Because what I do with Cosplay Collective is we take these wonderful characters to hospitals and senior assisted living, and we do all the special events around like Buddy Walk and Alzheimer's Association and all those just to put smiles on kids. It is the most rewarding thing I have ever done in my very long life. It is.
You're not that old. In my very long
think?
life,
You think?
400 years ago.
Yeah, 400 years ago. Anyways, so I'm a maker, basically. I can make just about any part of a costume. I sew anywhere from sewing to laser cutting to anything like that. I do have a workshop and sewing room and art room. And, you know, for the cosplayers, what we do is help the younger ones coming up that don't know how to make things or anything like that to learn the skills to make the costumes, which is
Super
more
helpful.
rewarding than just buying. And there's nothing wrong with buying a costume. Let me preface that.
There's not. You're valid.
But we got a question.
Do you do blacksmithing? Like, can you make swords? Do you do metalworking?
I have. I don't do a lot where I sell or anything. It's more of a personal thing with the metalworking.
But the great thing about
Are you
cosplay
looking-
is
I
one
have
of
a
us knows it.
teeny tiny forge at home.
Are you looking for people who make swords? Are you asking because you?
I was looking if there was like a sword.
Oh, I see. I was like,
So,
I do
do you
know
know-
some blacksmiths. I can hook
We
you up.
make real swords,
most
but
cosplays, you want to have something that's not quite so
Not quite
hard
real.
as a
Right,
metal
right.
sword.
So-
Conventions get really sassy, rightfully so,
Yeah.
about actual
Yeah.
Send you
weapons.
back to your scar.
So in the making of weapons, that's one of the areas where I would come into play sometimes. But I can make you we could show you how to make a great foam one. So, you know, with EVA foam and the proper safety gear, of course.
Foam,
And
3D printed,
parent
all kinds of
supervision. But that's usually the best way to go. You know, metal is kind of frowned upon in cons.
It's also heavy.
Yeah. But
I'm lazy. I don't want to carry something that heavy. Okay, so why are we here? This is Cosplay 101. So we're going to talk kind of about like what cosplay is, what's the difference between cosplay and costuming, and then like what's the Venn diagram of that? Where do they overlap? And we're going to talk about how we got started and how you can get started, the differences between making things and sourcing things and altering things. And then we'll talk about cosplaying at conventions and how to keep yourself safe and happy and not run through with a real sword. And my ring
That's
is
a bad
on.
thing.
And yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. So cosplay, it's a word we've all heard, and surprisingly, a lot of people don't think about where the word comes from. So cosplay is a portmanteau, which is a fancy word for two words smushed together, of costume and play. So there is your hint in the difference between costuming and cosplaying. Cosplaying is when you put on a costume as a character that can be your own original character, that can be a known character from a fandom. It does not imply whether you made the costume or not. It just implies that it's on your bod. And then you pretend to be that character. It's playing. We're playing characters in costume. Cosplay, portmanteau. Costuming, the implication there is that you are the maker of at least some part of what you're wearing, whether that's the prop, the costume. You could have altered it. It doesn't necessarily mean you crafted it from the ground with your own tiny hands. It could mean you modified it from something else that already existed in another form. That's still costuming. So there are people who are costumers who are not cosplayers because either they don't wear the things that they make, they don't show it off, they give it to other people, they sell it, or they may wear the costumes and not act like the character. They're still very much themselves, but they're like, hey, my name is Jennifer and this is this cool dress I made. And they're not a character. That is a costumer wearing a costume that they made. Plenty of cosplayers are not costumers. They don't make things. They don't modify things. They buy them from someone else who made them, and then they wear them and act like the character. All of these things are valid. They're all great. Like, nothing is better. There's no hierarchy or ranking of whether you make it or found it in a trash can and cleaned it. Please clean it. It's all valid. The only time those distinctions are important are if you're competing. There are going to be different categories for makers, craftsmanship, things like that, and they usually have real weird cutoffs, arbitrary, like you had to have made 60% of your costume, and then you get to do math about the costume that's on your body, and it's awful. But that's how those things are usually set up. That's the only time that matters. So if you get into a conversation with someone and you haven't made your costume and you are being made, they're trying to make you feel sad or bad about whether or not you made it or bought it, you say, no, I'm still great. And you are mean.
Just say you're a cosplayer.
And then you stop talking.
There's a difference.
That's right. You explain to them the difference between costuming and cosplaying because you just learned the difference. Now, I have a question for all of you folks. Actually, I'm gonna this is for Dee, because I know you know the answer. I'm setting you up for success. I know you know the answer. Do you want to talk about how cosplaying at conventions got started? What we assume to be the history?
No, I know you know that.
I do. I mean, I know the answer, but I know you know the answer.
So, the word cosplay, it's on, isn't it? Okay. 1948, the Science Fiction Convention in San Francisco, there was several couples that showed up in costume. There happened to be a Japanese author, news kind of author, that was attending, and he wanted to be able to translate the fact that these people created their own costumes. There wasn't something that they were basing it on. It's just, it was a science fiction convention.
Yeah, I
So
think they were like futuristic costumes.
Yeah,
like all the
future
descriptions you read of it is like they were the future.
Yeah, way back when.
They were now.
Hey, they didn't have hot glue back then.
And the reporter went back to Japan and tried to explain to his readers what it was, because these characters, when they showed up, they were in character the entire time. So it's not costuming. They created the costumes, but they also acted like a particular character. So that's where the word cosplay comes from. It actually was in Japan. That's why a lot of people think it comes from Japan, but it actually came from the United States. San Francisco to be.
America.
Crazy Americans.
We created a
America.
thing.
It's our fault. You're all welcome. My favorite part of that story, so the little handful of couples that went to this convention, like back in the day, and showed up in their futuristic costumes and played their characters, they thought everyone would be doing that. Like that was their assumption. And they were wrong. It was just them. It was just like 4 people at the whole convention. And
The next year, though,
then more people came, and then more people. It's like if you build it, they will come. And then it caught on, and I just loved mental image of the like four of them like beep booping as I imagine them to be doing around the convention. And everyone's
Of course, it
like,
got really big in Japan because they have so much anime and all that kind of stuff. They were able to.
they don't take anything
really
lightly
build
over
on
there.
it.
We don't dabble in things in Japan. You just go right in with
But-
all your energy.
And so it wasn't until not too far in the past that America really started to get into it a lot.
Yeah, we can't be outdone.
Where it went away from Halloween. As I was asked the other day, what are you wearing for Halloween? I said, probably nothing. Because it's a Monday night.
Whoa!
It's a Monday night. and
Hey,
I'm
settle
gonna
down
get
over
home
there.
sleeping.
Settle down.
That is on the late night with Ginger.
I said, but if you ask me
a
about
whole
the
different
rest of the
panel there.
year,
No, I have a similar answer to that, both like from a performer side and like from a costuming side. The question I get all the time, I'm sure we all do, is like, oh, I bet like your Halloween costume is like really epic. And I'm like, no, that's where I do like the dumbest, most casual, like Abraham Lincoln. Like that's my vibe on Halloween. The things that I don't do at conventions, like that's where I take my fun. Like that's no, Halloween's every day, and then actual Halloween is when I'm really stupid, like more than usual, which is a lot.
Cosplayers usually do something really stupid. I saw a friend of
Or
mine
like my pajamas.
literally put a box over herself and write creator's block on it.
Good.
And that was it. That's all she did.
That's very good. Well, I was asked a question made a statement by someone about, I said, why don't you cosplay? And she goes, it's too expensive.
Misconception.
And I went, myth number one.
I mean, it can be.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
one.
it can be.
We can start talking products,
it's
but
all
no.
on you.
It
whether
doesn't
it's
have to
expensive or not.
be.
Right. It's for all economic brackets.
Yes, absolutely. So, why, if you're looking to get into cosplay or you're wondering why would you do this? Why do you do this to yourself? People do it for different reasons. And MG kind of picked on the same thing. It's like, I didn't know you could professionally cosplay. Most people don't. Most people do this as a hobby. That's dope. Keep doing that. Like this, also, professional is a wide range of things. It could mean you got paid for one appearance once and never again. You're still a professional cosplayer. It doesn't mean it's your whole job. So I know lots of people that are just getting started out. They want to cosplay and they're really intimidated by kind of how they see cosplay presented on social media and on the internet. My biggest caveat to that, I do an entire panel on cosplay positivity, and the crux of that is how do we combat the ickies that we get from social media. People put their best selves on the internet, and it looks very glossy and very shiny, and like they are making $400,000 a year doing cosplay, and that they're not. There are a couple people in the world that are making like a decent, good living being cosplayers. Yaya Han, she's fine. She's doing fine. Like
I love her products.
she's doing
But
fine.
it's all from
Joanne's.
everything she
Correct. It's
did
not necessarily
from the cosplay.
correct. It's from the products and the business that she's built. That is not most people, and that should not be your barrier to entry into cosplay. Like, do not allow yourself to be intimidated and daunted by a perceived professionalism or a level of quality, because no one's putting their train wreck costumes on the internet, but they exist. Train wreck costumes exist. Professional cosplayers have a closet full of mistakes. We just delete those pictures and they don't go on the internet. I'm guilty of it too. I try not to be. I try to put myself as a human being on the internet because I think it's really important. But please just get started. Like there's every level. It's for fun for the most part. Even those of us that get paid from time to time to do this, we do it because it's fun. So that's why you should do it. If you're asking yourself, why would I do this to myself? It's because it's actually really fun. Most of the time.
Well, also, there was a favorite story I have. Remember the AkaiCon that time where I brought that mom to y'all who was all upset about, oh my gosh, do y'all have like real lives?
Yes.
Do y'all do this? So, short story, me and my friend Daniel, who's Assassination Classroom sensei, he had taken off his outfit. My outfit, of course, is nice without a head. I'm well dressed. We were outside going to our car, leaving, like good people, and we were stopped to take some pictures of some horses. And this lady comes up to us and goes, "Did y'all just leave in there?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "But you look normal." And I went, "Normal's just a sitting on a dryer. But what can we do for you?" And she goes into a 1 hour spell of family drama of her 16-year-old daughter used to be her best friend, and now she's drifting away into this world of cosplay and anime, and I'm just losing my daughter. And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Okay, well, what anime does she like?" My Hero Academia. And I was like, "Really?" I said, "Well, let me grab my costume, and I think we're going to take care of this for you." So she had all these questions about professional cosplay ladies, about, how do they do this? I mean, how do they have real jobs? And that time it was Megan, it was you, all the professional ladies were there that day. And I said, "I have got some ladies to introduce you to." And so we came inside, and I explained to her mom, I'd already taken pictures of their daughter because I'm from My Hero Academia, if you haven't noticed. And I came in arm in arm with her in costume over to her daughter's friends and her to introduce them, and told Mom, "You're going to start watching My Hero Academia with your daughter, and the protagonist has a mom who's scared to death that he's going to die, and that's your character." And the great thing about My Hero, I've had entire families be members of My Hero Academia, from mom down to the little one with the hat, the horn, so I don't even remember what his little name is, but he was cute, all the way down. And that's fantastic to see moms, dads, everybody, I think grandmothers and granddads and stuff, Gran Torino from My Hero, by the way, do it together. So it's a great family thing. We saved anime saved a whole family that day.
The family
great.
that cosplays together.
Stays together.
together.
I mean, come on.
Hot glues together.
Well,
I'm not
we
sure.
say parenting done right. Thank you.
Cosplay, bringing families together since the
I
beginning.
get a lot
there's
of
a
that.
family out
I
there
get a
right
lot
now.
of that because all we really do is charity work, and I've had to explain to a lot of parents what cosplay really is, because sometimes they only see the really well-known cosplayers, and there's a reason they're well-known. But with our group, we do so much charity. When they start seeing that, oh, you can do this too, instead of just trying to be what some of the really well-known ones are, they're like, well, this is different. This is different. Maybe I should listen to my kid and see what they're watching, and,
Listen to
Be
your
they all
involved in their
join,
life.
and they all join in, because when we do events, if they're not over 16, I ask the parents to come with so they can see exactly what we're doing.
So let's say we're getting started. We're all brand
Okay.
new. We're getting started in cosplay. Yeah, where do you start? For me, I start with a character. I think that makes the most sense logically. I find a character that I want to cosplay. How do you pick a character? I have a lot of people ask me that question. How do you decide who you're going to cosplay? And not everyone has the same answer. How do you decide who you're going to cosplay?
Literally, whatever character just catches my eye. Like,
So it's a visual thing.
it's a
Like,
visual
you like
thing,
the way they look.
or it could be a character that you connect with. It could be somebody from your past, or a character from your past that you just want to bring to life just because. It could be a number of things.
So it's a mixed bag for you.
Yes.
What about you? How do you pick your characters?
I pick my characters, but basically what I like, and can I duplicate them? I'm not going to be
Especially in
I'm
anime,
not going to be a
is this
transformer.
possible?
Is this possible? Daniel did that to me with Koro Sensei. I helped design that one, and it's like, all right, how are we going to put this together? I love a good puzzle and a good challenge. So I'm like, okay, how would I make this? How would I put it together? And also, does it make people happy? And if it's going to bring joy. I love Mario, and I'm working hard on Mario, but I'm doing it simply because I want to be able to go to the hospital with them and see the smiles on the kids' faces and enjoy that. He's a great guy, but he's not like totally universally known. Everybody knows Mario.
It's true.
But that's why, because I know the payoff at the end, and that's going to be making people happy, and that's what I love to do. It's a great hobby to have.
How do you pick your characters? What are you drawn to?
Well, some of my main characters I pick because it's something I'm drawn to. But I also, because I'm a maker and an artist, I'm drawn to the costume itself. But I don't just throw the costume together. I will watch the source material and see how the character acts. And, you know, of course, I'm not going to play somebody who is a horrible, horrible character just because they have a nice costume. But if they have a good message and the costume will be fun to make because I am a maker.
So you like the positive characters. You like to be positive.
I like positive characters.
She says as she's making a Death Eater, by the way. I'm just going to put a caveat to that. I set her up.
That's for a specific reason.
Friendly Death Eater.
I was asked for a Death Eater, so.
No, I get what you're saying. I mean, for me, it's a couple of things. It's either something like really visually, like kind of like everyone echoing what everyone said, which is I like the way they look. I think it's cool. I think it would be fun to make. Like sometimes you just look at something and you're like, that's going to be really challenging and fun, and maybe use a skill I don't get to use as often, or something I want to learn.
I do pick some when I know that there's a lot of different skills, anywhere from sewing to armor, you know, that will be
So you can do a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes because I like to do it.
Sometimes I pick a character just because I like their personality, and I think it will be fun for me at a convention. Tinkerbell, I mean, obviously I'm being myself right now. I'm not cosplaying currently because I'm talking to you as Ginger, not as Tinkerbell. But Tinkerbell is really fun at conventions because some days I don't talk at all. I just run around and annoy people silently and, like, you know, photobomb them and take their things. Like, that's really fun for me. I give them back most of the time. But yeah, so sometimes it's a personality thing, and I also love cosplaying villains. I think it's really fun.
Me too.
You know, I'm the ultimate villain, right? But that's in the storyline.
No spoilers.
I realize
Okay,
I haven't
sorry.
done very many villains.
I
I
don't
am
like
through the
humans.
Sith.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
I
it's
don't
fun
do
to be the
villains
bad
most of the
guy. I
time.
think we all like to be the bad guy from time to time. I will say, I mean, this is Cosplay 101. We won't go super into this. We go more in depth in cosplay positivity. Just because you're playing a villain, please don't actually be a terrible human being at a convention. Please remember you are a person interacting with another person. They may not know your shtick that you're doing. They may not understand. So keep in mind, fantasy, reality, be a good human, even when you're playing a villain. Cool? We're clear? Go. Great. Kind of goes along with the consent thing. I know a lot of people, you know, when you think of consent, you think of physical touch, like I should ask to touch someone. That's true. But also, there's consent involved in bullying people as a character. So you need to make sure they're on board. I'm talking to a lot of Joker cosplayers that are not in the room currently. But, you know the difference between fantasy and reality and when you're playing.
Just because you're Deadpool doesn't mean that you get to act like Deadpool 24/7. I'm just saying.
Truth. So, also picking your character could be an original character. Plenty of people cosplay original characters. They're not from any source material. It's something that comes out of your noggin, and it exists either based on a story that you write, or you just think they look cool and like you have a little backstory for them. That is also choosing a character. That's still cosplaying. It
That
doesn't.
comes good into gaming.
Yeah,
and stuff.
absolutely. It doesn't have to
D&D.
be, your D&D character, like whatever. Like that's an original character, that's still cosplay. But so you start with your character, you pick them. You also need to decide, are you doing an accurate representation? So if this is a known character, whether it's print media, visual media, do I want to look exactly like them? Or do I want to do a reimagining of them? Both of those things are cosplay, but that's a decision you need to make. Like, am I doing a casual version because I don't have the time, energy, or I don't want to make the full costume? Am I doing a fashion representation? I do a lot of that. I do a lot of historical 40s and 50s fashion versions of characters because that's what I like.
Closet cosplay.
Yeah, I make them though. I'm not pulling them out of my closet because I'm sew dresses. So like I like to do historical
She does everything.
visions of known characters. That's my thing. I take them and put them in a different era. But you need to decide what your character is going to look like, and all of that is fair game. Do your own version. Do a Halloween version of a character that no one, use your creativity, or you can try to replicate what you've seen in print or screen. Those are your directions. You have your character, you know what they want to look like. Next thing, this is the step that a lot of people skip. It's the most important step. It's also the most boring for most people. Planning. Now you got to plan it. Don't just go. I'm super guilty of this. This is like,
Me too.
yeah, this is me giving advice that I want you to
budgeting.
take.
I wonder if this will work.
Right. Budgeting is involved in planning. I'm super, just take a beat. Like you have your character, you have your direction, you're excited, you know what they want to look like. Pump your brakes a little bit. Sit down and spend some time making a list of everything you're going to either need to find or make in order to make your costume happen. You can look at a picture if you're doing a replication, do yourself a terrible little sketch if you're not an artist, and literally down to like, I need white socks for this.
I has question because I am very terrible. Do we actually have to do that? I never do that part.
I mean, you should.
I never do that part. It always.
How do you
ends
keep track?
disaster.
Like, do you find yourself missing things at the last minute?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Remember, failure is always an option.
Do
but
as we say,
It's
not
only
as we do.
failure if you stop doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, it's okay because there's a lot of times, like in the construction of this guy, I forget. It takes me about 3 years to forget why I hate fiberglass, and then I'm sitting here doing this guy in fiberglass, and I'm just miserable. Fiberglass, if you don't know anything about it, it's toxic, it's horrible, it stinks.
Messy.
It's just nasty. But it works really well. But it's just, every time I build something with fiberglass, it's like, I'll never do this again.
And then enough time goes by.
And then 3 years go by, and I go, I need to make that.
See, I think this is why people have multiple kids.
Yeah,
too.
so, it's like,
You do. It's the same approach.
it's
It's
just
like the first time they're like, I'm not doing that again. And 3 years later, they're like, babies are cute. It's the same thing.
It's probably about the same, right? Yeah, that's about right. So, but again, if it makes you happy, that's the key. Okay, I mean, we love doing this, and it all makes us happy to make you happy. We like to, and I mean, who doesn't like to dress up?
Sorry.
I say, who doesn't like to dress
Yeah,
up?
it's great.
I mean, it's great. So,
Planning, that can look like a lot of things for a lot of people. I take it a step further. There are apps. There are cosplay planning apps. You can also just keep a note on your phone. You can scribble on a scrap piece of paper that you keep on your desk. Whatever works for you.
And that
do
doesn't
your
mean
thing.
you have to do 100% planning, like write
No,
everything
like just
down.
have a direction that you're
Like, get a
going.
direction.
It will
and-
help you with your time, and it will help you with your budget. A lot of people start and they're going full steam ahead, and there is monetarily, I've seen a lot of people drop costumes halfway through because they run out of the budget to do the things that they want to do. So especially if it's a new medium for you, if you're learning a new skill and you're going to need new tools, just think about that as you go into it so that you can actually finish your thing. Like, that's exciting. So I keep like a Trello board, and I move cards around, and that's how I have OCD, it's fine. But yes, please plan, please budget. It will get you to the point of completing your costume with a little less hassle for you. So just think a little bit. And there's an extra step when you're going to make things. There's a whole nother layer of planning that is helpful there when you're learning fiberglass, thinking about all the things you need. If you haven't done it a few years,
yes.
do I need to get new
and,
supplies? I'm really
do I
guilty.
need a mental evaluation?
I'm-
doctor's visit, check.
I am a dive right in person, especially when I'm ready to start making the thing, and I sit down and I'm ready. That's the planning step I usually forego, and I regret it every time because then I get started and I get my momentum and I have to stop because I don't have something that I need. And if I had thought about it a little bit before I got started, I could have prepared myself and gotten the thing that I don't have. So, and then it's just a bummer because I lose my momentum. So planning, I suggest it. You don't have to do it. It still turns out great, just like for your own sanity and I don't know, like ulcer purposes. And
I
to not-
have no sanity, so it just kind of bypasses that. I mean, I do have a little bit of planning, but it's just okay. Let's go ahead and get this done, knock it out, and be done with it, kind of thing. So, yeah.
Other things to consider when you're doing your costume, especially if you're not doing kind of duplication, you're not bound, you're not constrained by what's in front of you. Think about comfort. If you're going to wear this to a convention,
Pockets.
think about pockets.
Very important.
Right there.
We all have phones, and we need somewhere to put them.
Female presenting people, insoles for your heels.
Or anyone in heels, male presenting people.
Yes.
I don't heels.
Or breaking the shoes
Shoe-
in before
wear
you
your
wear them.
shoes. Clean the house in your costume shoes. I know that's weird. That's how I break my shoes in, is when I'm like doing chores, because then I'm not walking around on the street and stranded when my shoes are uncomfy. I'm at home. I can take them off, wear them in little periods of time. So like, just think about your comfort. What can you change so that I can actually wear this for hours at a convention and not make my day miserable? Because we're here to have fun. So like,
Can you go to the bathroom?
That's a good one too.
that's a good one.
That's a
If
big
8 hours. with
Sometimes
that
the
woman.
answer is no. And that's fine. Like sometimes we have really big, complicated things. And part of then planning is deciding, when are you going to wear this thing? Like, are you going to wear it for 12 hours that day at the convention? Or are you going to wear it for 3 hours just for the costume contest? Or are you going to wear it for 2 hours just in the morning to get photos and then put on something more comfortable? I think set realistic expectations for yourself for how long you can actually survive in this thing.
And you'll be surprised at how easy you can make it more comfortable for yourself with pockets and pouches and things like that. You just look at the picture and you can see them
Yeah.
if you think about it.
Yeah. Or I'm really into like finding or creating a matching bag of some sort that I can carry with my costume. If there's not a good place for me to put pockets, I'll have some bag that, I'm not going to have it on for photos. I'll set it aside. But just for when I'm walking around, I like everything to go together. It's a sickness. If you don't have that sickness, I don't care what bag you carry. You won't care either. It's great. No one else will care. No one cares that my bag matches. That's a me thing. That's for me. Makes me smile. But it is something to think about. It may be important to you. We talked a little bit about props and the things that you should think about with your props, which is, can I injure someone with this? Is the con going to have a problem with this? Definitely check the event that you're going to. Most of them list a weapons policy, like a prop policy. It differs from event to event. There are some big ones that are pretty universal, which is like no actual firearms and no metal swords. But sometimes it's more complicated than that. Sometimes they'll have,
Like size.
yeah,
and
they may have a
things
like
that.
diameter of things,
Is it
like
pointy?
height.
Will it poke an eye out?
Yeah.
Will it put a hole in someone? Will it slice them open? Will it bash their head in?
Does it have parts that are ejected from it? Like sometimes cons will not let you if you have like, projectiles. They'll bring your projectiles.
Is it something that if somebody gets hit with it, will it hurt? Like there's some cons that won't let lightsabers in.
Right. Metal shields. Some cons don't let metal shields in. My husband has a
Wolverine.
steel shield for his Captain America, and that's not allowed in every con. So we have a backup shield that's not steel. So just to save yourself the disappointment of like finding or creating a thing that you love and are so proud of and want to take to the con and then get to the door and they make you take it to your car, prepare yourself. Know what you're getting into. Also, don't be surprised or angry that a con needs to piece tie, which usually just means putting a little zip tie or like an armband around your prop. It's just so that everyone who on staff looks at you knows that someone at the con has looked at your prop and they know it's not going to hurt anybody. I've seen some con goers get really offended that they have to put something on their prop. It's not a permanent installation. You can take it off later. It's just con policies. So just
Yeah,
roll
don't
with it.
let security hunt you down.
Oh yeah, no, go if there's a weapons table, a prop table, go be proactive. Go find it and get it piece tied because they're
We
gonna
have a
come.
Green Arrow who had that happen, even though he had it looked at because you couldn't pull it really.
Right, and
at
they're gonna
all.
come
It was
find you.
so tight you couldn't pull his bow. And he had been approved, but he didn't get the piece on there, piece tie, and they hunted him down.
Oh, and they didn't kill him, right? Like,
No.
oh, okay.
Luckily, it was the father of one of our other cosplayers.
They hunted him down, and then what
It was
happened?
the
I don't know.
cop.
I'm really invested. I was like, oh my.
They were on the radio and everything. I heard them.
Other pieces to think of that a lot of people, because you've got your costume, you've got your prop, you know where you're going, you have your day planned. The thing that tends to get forgotten is undergarments. Not just that you need them, but also what kind, because most people don't spend a lot of time in their daily life thinking about their undergarments. Some people do, I do, but
If you're a male
here's the
and you are a Spider-Man,
Oh, no.
there's
or
this thing called a dance belt.
here we go. Yeah, great.
That's
All right. This is
must have.
important. I'm gonna second it. It's so important. We may all say it. It's not just
Dance belt.
dance belt. It's not just for Spider-Man. If you are in a spandex suit, spandex pants, tight pants, it's a dance belt. It's basically a jock strap. If you want to know what dance belt means, but it turns you.
Smooths out all the bumps.
It's gonna turn you into
It's a
a
little more
Ken doll.
comfortable.
That's
The
right.
Ken doll effect.
Yes.
It's good for you. It's good for everyone else. Children like to hug you when you're a superhero in a spandex suit, and they are right here. Their photos are often. Just wear a dance belt. We don't have to. Just do it.
Let's do it.
Do it. Tell all your friends.
I have mine.
I'm Mom. I'm
Yeah.
the one who tells everybody.
I'm a dance
up.
belt evangelist. I am here.
Sorry, you need to put a belt on.
Yeah. I've done it. I do entire panels on undergarments. We can it can actually get really complicated. But moral of the story: if you're a male, dance belt. Ladies, female presenting folks, think about whether or not your things are see-through. If it's white, think about fluorescent lights at cons. Like, see if the fabric you think is opaque is actually opaque. It may not be. So, things like that. Also, this is a lesson I learned working in cosplay repair room at MomoCon, thanks to Cosplay Collective. Sometimes your seams may rip. Lots of seams rip. And they have a universal walk where they all waddle in and they're holding their hands behind their back because they're holding their pants and their suits together because their bums are out. And most of them are walking like that because they didn't wear any undergarments, and now they cannot leave the convention center because their bum is out. And I have to sew them back together by hand.
I've watched her sit there. She helped us wonderfully.
I will do it. I'm happy to do it. I will do it. But please, wear undergarments just in case. There are plenty of undergarments you can find that are seamless and the length you need, like full body undergarments for under spandex suits. If you're worried about lines, there are ways to not have lines, and it's just better for you. It's safer. So don't forget your
I was
undies.
very happy she was there.
Don't forget what your undies are going to be.
I'm just going to sit down here and be
I
quiet.
fixed the 3D props.
Just going to be quiet.
Do you
That's
think about your undies very often?
I mean, I'm wearing my dancer belt right now just for comfort, But no.
I mean, it's not just for
It's not,
spandex
but I
suits.
mean,
Like
but it's good.
not.
It's good to have. I mean, for guys, we fortunately, it's if you're wearing spandex, yeah, that's the thing. That's probably the number one thing. But other than that, I think we're good. But you should always wear undergarments.
Yeah.
Always.
And I will say, at
That's what my mother
a
said.
charity
one time.
event, if somebody shows up without one, I will ask them not to be there, just because
Can
it's
be quite
obvious.
explicit, and I don't think they
It's
realize how
They don't
explicit it
understand.
actually
and
is.
I know they don't mean anything by it. They just don't realize.
Yeah. So, but I mean, dance belts are good, like you said, not just for under spandex things. Like they just make undergarments will make your costume fit better. Like regardless of your fitness level or shape or size, it's just everyone wins with undergarments. That's my new tagline. All right, so we got our undies down, we got our costume, we got our props, we know where we're going, we know that our prop is allowed into the convention, we've broken in our shoes, we know how long we can wear our costume, if we can use the potty in it. All of our questions have been answered and we're ready to go to the convention. What are some other things we need to think about now that we're in a costume?
I have a.
Did I miss
we were
anything?
talking about expense. My costume right now, yes, they had it was made, but these are fake timbers at I think like $15 a piece, and yes, they have very expensive inserts in them because these shoes hurt. All right, Goodwill, modified.
Yeah.
Goodwill.
Valid.
So we're looking at a whole whopping maybe $10 worth of clothing here. So no, it
My
doesn't have to be
co-founder,
expensive.
most of her costumes are completely Goodwill.
Yeah.
All right. So, I
And
mean,
they're fantastic.
so, there's a Fawn guy walking around. He's got this fabulous jacket. I'm talking, it is awesome. Goodwill. So, you'll become a Goodwillian as you go through and you look for, hey, this might work, this might look good. When I looked at him, I looked at, one of the characters I want to do is All for One if we do villains. And guess what? He wears a suit. Easy. I can go get a Goodwill, buy the big black suit, and make his head. Done.
But also, not just buying it straight to put on, but to modify.
Yeah.
It's like,
Or even if you're looking for a specific material, you can find it at Goodwill.
I will say a caveat to that. If you're looking for leather, especially real leather, Goodwill's a great place to get leather that you can then chop up and turn into other things. Because you can get someone's terrible old leather trench coat. It's like $5 to $10, which is way less than you're going to spend on like a roll of leather, let me tell you. And it's great. So yeah, think of it for fabric. Sheets are really good for making, if you are a sewist, if you sew things, you need to make a mock-up, you need to make a draft of what you're making. I
Curtains.
skip that step a lot. I'm sorry, everybody. But you should do it. It's the right thing to do. Sheets are a great thing to make those things out of, and they're super cheap at thrift stores. So yeah, think about.
Instead of going to Joann's and spending a bunch on muslin, go get a sheet.
Yes. Right. So now you go. You put your costume together, however you put it together. You pulled it out of your closet, you got it from a thrift store, you got it online, you made it, you did some combination of those things. You go to the convention. A lot of people, more people than you think, I hear this all the time, are going to ask to take your picture. It's going to happen. Even if you think you're in the most garbage costume you've ever seen, you are not proud of it. You are sad, but you're like, I'm wearing it, I made it, and I'm going.
That is somebody's favorite character.
Someone's going to be excited to see you, and they're going to take your picture. It's a good thing. Be happy about it. Be excited. Be flattered. And take the picture. But be ready to do that. I've seen so many first-time cosplayers that are like, oh my God, and then what do I, and then... that's it. And that's what you get. That's not the photo you want to see later when it's on the internet. So think about your character. Have a couple of poses that work for your character, whatever it is. I mean, Spider-Man is a great example. Spider-Man cosplayers should know a Spidey pose. Do the thing, right?
Do the thing.
Be ready. And just do that. Practice them at home. Look in the mirror and be ready to go, because then you'll have nice pictures to look back on when you leave the convention. So that's my thing. You're also allowed to say no if someone asks to take your picture. If you're busy, if you are mid-meatball sub in a corner somewhere, this is a real story. This is a thing that happened. It was not a meatball sub, but I was eating a sandwich in a corner, hiding in my Sarah ball gown. It was Dragon Con. It was the 30th anniversary of Labyrinth. It had been I was very pleased. It was a very popular costume that year. I was getting a lot of photos. And then I was hungry, and so I was in a corner, and I'm eating. And a camera lens comes around in from heaven and takes a photo of me. And then by the time I turned around, the person was gone. So somewhere on the internet or in someone's family vacation, I don't know where it is.
That's not unusual. I had it happen when I was in my Batwoman and I was eating.
Yeah, it's really strange. So I didn't have the opportunity to tell that person no because they didn't ask, but most people do. We're doing panels. We're trying to teach the etiquette of asking for photos because it's consent and it's polite, and we like both of those things. But you can tell them no. You can say, hey, actually, I don't have all my costume on. Sometimes you're walking somewhere and you're holding half your costume. If you're down and you want to put it, you say, hey, let me put my helmet and my gloves back on, and I'd love to. Then say yes. But if you're in a hurry, you can say, actually, I'm on my way somewhere. I'm so sorry, and that's okay. Don't feel bad. Just hey, sorry, I'm going, and they'll be like, okay, and that's it. End of transaction. So just be ready for photos. Be ready to say no. Be ready to say yes. The end. About photos. Just be ready for them. Don't be surprised. Be excited. It's a good thing.
And also there's people that will try to sneak your photo.
Sneaky photos.
I'm pretty good at when I'm not dressed up and I see somebody trying to get a picture, say, of Ginger. I'll be like, just ask her. She'll pose for you.
I would
instead of
much rather
having-
pose for than you
yeah,
get the
most
because
of
my
us
face,
will
like, I don't know what it's
pose.
doing most of the time. So, like, when I'm talking, like, any still photos that come out of this panel, I will look like a nightmare. And that's fine. I've accepted it. It's I don't know. It's like a stretchy face thing.
But
I
if
make
you
faces.
just ask, any one of us will pose for you,
Yeah.
and then it looks better.
Yeah. Tell your
Not
friends.
at the grocery store. Sorry.
Not at the I don't go to the grocery store. I hate I'm not doing it. That's what delivery is for. All right. We have a few minutes at the end. This is where I say, oh, do you have any questions? We can talk about costumes you're building. We can talk about things we already talked about. Talk about your undergarments.
So one thing y'all didn't discuss was when you're trying to compete, and there's definitely a stage presence aspect of competing. So what do y'all recommend as far as like length of time to be like do your thing on stage, and like how to make your character really come to life on stage?
Watch the source material and do what they do. I mean, that's the best way to do it, and make yourself present on the stage. So, I mean, there's no way of just saying do this or that. It depends on the character.
And also exaggerate your movements a
Yeah,
bit larger.
exaggerate.
That's one of those things. I was at GalaxyCon and they have a huge stage. And I didn't know what I was going to do because I can't see very well. But what I did was I did a sachet fashion walkway down the thing, did a turn, did another turn. But it just was exaggerated and big, and because you had this huge space to fill, you know. And like the little guy today, he was awesome. He got there and he was like,
Predator.
doing
Did
all
the-
this.
the
he was
Predator
doing-
that did the
I mean,
kids.
It'd be a good tutorial for everybody because he was on it. And because you have to be confident in what you're doing, that's the number one thing. And the thing is, you can be confident because we're all friends. You know, and that's the great thing about cons and conventions. We're all friends.
Yeah.
Whether we know you or not, you're here, you're trying to do your costume, go big, go loud, be your character.
You have to keep in mind that we're in a community that's wonderful to be in. I literally was talking to one of the food vendors, and they told me just now before I came to here that this is the best event they've worked.
And they don't work just like
And they
fandom.
work
They work
all
every day.
kinds of events, and they said everybody has been wonderful. And that's the way cons are. And cosplayers, they love each other. They love what they do. They care about people.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful community to be part of. You got to remember that when you're cosplaying, because yeah, there's going to be people that say, oh my, you're not exactly the way you're supposed to be. But it's your interpretation.
say, "Yup."
And the people that, yeah, I mean,
right.
get up there and just do the poses that the character does.
I think for me, like, and it depends on the competition, because some competitions, depending on how they're set up, they'll have you submit like music. So you know your length. You can submit your music. It's like, I have 30 seconds and I've listened to my song and I'm gonna do my thing. Some of them, like the one we do here, you know, you don't submit music, but you have the abilities to submit like a script that the MC is going to read. So you can time your movements. That's my pro tip there. If you're submitting your own script, you get to control what's being said, and you can time and almost choreograph what you're going to do based on what's going to be said about you. Some just have a runway, so you're just doing like, I'm gonna come up and pose. And I think really just think about what you want to show off. Like, what do you want the judges and the audience to see while you're up there? Are there pieces of your costume that are more important to you or you think are really cool? Make sure you come up with poses that show those off. Like, don't assume they can see it. Like, really draw attention to it in character in some way that you can. I think that that's really important. For me, it's like, I want to get the story of your character. I don't need to know their whole arc. But like, are you a bad guy? Are you a good guy? Are you funny? Like, because I I'm not gonna know every character. There are so many. The judges are not
Yeah,
gonna
the
know
judges
every
aren't gonna
character,
know
but like
everybody.
I should be able to understand like what's what are you, what's happening from what you're doing. And I think that's really at the heart of it. For me, like as a judge and as an audience member, that's what I want to see. Did that help? Was that helpful? Yeah. Definitely don't run straight across the stage. Like take a moment. The confidence thing is great, and yes, I want everyone to be confident.
360.
But like sometimes you have to fake that. And that's fine. The more you fake it, like eventually your brain will be like, yeah, we know what we're doing. That's great. You'll just believe yourself, and that just fake it until then, because it's the same thing as like one person being super excited and wanting to take a photo of a costume that you thought nobody would know. That's who the confidence is for. Like you walk on stage, you may not be feeling your best, but you can hold in your heart that there is one person in the audience at the very least that is super jazzed to see you. And so that's why you're doing it. That's why you're confident, is for them.
Or you're doing it for yourself.
Oh, that's even better. That's harder for me. I'm here for the one person. That's me. But yeah, like self-esteem.
I have to because, I don't take compliments very well.
That's true. Any other questions? Comment? In the back.
So, your costume, mostly Goodwill stuff, mostly like regular clothes that you could fashion.
Right. Now, this is. Yeah, go ahead. No.
That your outfit is mostly just like regular clothes. Your outfit very much not regular clothes in particular.
Sure. You don't know how I dress every day.
All of your costumes afterwards. Do you just have a closet full of costumes?
I have a very angry wife.
Closets, mannequins, whole rooms.
Like, I would assume you weren't going to be Tinkerbell to go to the grocery store, so like it kind of.
I've pumped gas like this. I pumped gas as a Hellfire cheerleader on Friday. That's a fun. You get less
The
looks on
dinner
Halloween.
places.
We go to dinner. Since I cosplay a lot personally, I do not. I keep them and I rewear them because I work a lot of events, and so then I have a wardrobe to choose from that's like tailored to the event. So for anime conventions, I have my anime costumes and blah blah blah. Everyone has their own storage solutions. I've seen plenty of people that are just like, I'm tired of these costumes, and they sell them. There are groups on Facebook where people sell entire costumes that they've made because they're just sick of it.
Some people have entire closets. We're not
Or
going to
entire
talk about
rooms.
that.
Or garage.
This is a closet.
Or garage.
This is gonna be the weirdest flex
I have
I've ever
3
made.
rooms.
Yeah, so my flex is similar. So because I don't have children and I can do what I want with the guest bedrooms in my house, I have a bedroom that I converted into a walk-in closet. It's a bedroom that is a I'm gonna repeat that. I made a dressing room, y'all. And I mean, it's all the walls, it's the closet, there's like drawers and dressers and shelves, and it's a whole mood. So yeah, some people just keep everything in bins.
It's really good to label them.
But yeah, you
so
need to know
that
what's
you
going
know
on.
what parts
I
go
have a
with
label
what.
maker.
I think the most extreme person I've seen that with was one of my clients, and she showed me, because she's one of those high-end group. I said, do you keep all your costumes? And how do you keep them all? So she sent me a photo of her garage, and her entire garage has been sealed in as one massive closet.
That's good.
Oh, yeah. And everything's labeled, like you said.
Yeah,
It's
labeling's good.
I was like, wow, I am so unorganized.
I do have costumes that I've made that were like one-offs and I've never worn again because there's not been an event. There was either like a specific thing they were doing at an event that I made the costume for. I am super guilty of holding on to it because in my mind I'm going to use it again. Like I have a Teddy Roosevelt costume
also
that I've
may
worn once. I
repurpose.
made it for an event. It hasn't come up again.
I'm sorry, you have a whole...
It's fine. It's Teddy Roosevelt. I have a bear suit that goes with it that I came out of. It's a whole thing.
I need pictures.
Yeah, it's fine. But I still have it. I've never used it since. But in my hoarder problem is I'm like, well, I'll be Teddy Roosevelt again. It'll come up. Like, I don't know. It hasn't. But some people recognize the once opportunity of a costume and then pass it on, which is probably the right thing to
Or
do.
repurpose it.
Right.
I've kept all mine. I have over 100 cosplays in a tiny little closet. I'm working on getting it organized, but it's in a tiny little closet. So yeah,
Organization is key.
yes, organization is very much key.
I also have a lot of stuff from Goodwill or thrift stores or something that I can see the potential in them.
The potential
Ooh,
costume
that's
bin.
danger.
I have
That
that.
is so
Mine is
danger.
actually labeled potential costume
There
pieces.
is a separate closet just for
Yeah, yeah.
potential,
That's so
potential
dangerous.
costumes.
And when we say addiction, we mean that in a positive and negative
Yeah.
Very
fashion.
much so.
Have that too.
And when, especially for me, because I'd be probably like, you know what, I like that. My wife will go, what are you gonna use it for? Don't know
I don't
yet. No. We'll just hang on. Might come in handy later. That's a danger sign. You should talk to your sponsor at
just
that
for the
point
material.
and say, "Hi, my name's Derek. It's been 24 hours since I bought something non-essential because I liked it and thought it might be a cool prop one day."
Yeah.
One day is a key word.
Yeah. We'll do our
So,
support group
but-
later.
So did we answer your, I think we answered your question on that one. We're all insane and we have closets and rooms full of
And
stuff.
bins full of stuff
under
that
every
can
Be
bed.
warned
It's
now.
into stuff.
So
I have a bin in my garage full of like Nerf guns and toy guns because I do a lot of post-apocalyptic costuming. And
Just
those are
a
really good
bin?
bases to turn into other weapons for post-apocalyptic. I haven't done anything with them. They've been in there for years. I just moved them to a new house and it's just like a bin of Nerf weapons. It's
I
fine.
have a shelf the entire length of my garage of Nerf stuff.
yeah, so
Any other questions? We can take one more. Ooh, you're the winner.
Okay, so what would be like resources or things that you've used in your cosplays that you would not suggest using or they failed you in some way?
ooh, that's a good question. Because failure is an option. And they usually
Failure
does-
is a guarantee,
yeah, guaranteed. So
especially when you're making something. You're just, it's
I'm-
going to happen.
I made a costume out of burlap. It was a monk costume for St. Patrick's Day. Never
Fake fur is also
Where-
very messy.
wear
But
wear
it's-
burlap. So there you go.
It's individual because I am making a burlap costume.
I
right
will
now.
say, like, I think
Use a good liner. 'Cause
I
I'll
think
tell
for
ya,
me,
I
the
got an entire
answer is
roll.
more on like, what did I find out I don't work well with? Like, I don't know that the material is necessarily bad, but I have found mediums that I just like leather work. I'm not a leather worker. I don't enjoy it. Like, it's not a process I enjoy. So I have friends that leather work, and I'm gonna use them for that. I'm gonna pay them my doll hairs for the leather. So it's not that the leather is bad; it's that I'm bad at leather. I think for me.
Well, it also depends on what you like to work with too.
Yeah, you'll find your
I mean,
groove.
it's the same for any artist. Whatever type of material you like to work with is what you're drawn to. So there may be something that you don't like to use.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you find out by trying, which means investing in the thing. I always suggest, especially if you're learning a new trade, a new craft, like you wanting to start something new, and there's like a buy-in. So if there's equipment and like money you need to sink in order to find out if you like it, look in your local area and see if there's a maker space. That's where I would start because they have tools and equipment
Or a
and things.
cosplay group that might have a
Alternatively, another
maker
cosplay.
day.
Find other cosplayers, see if it's a medium they work in, and see if you can come try it because there's nothing worse than investing a bunch of money into something and then trying it and being like, I literally hate this and I never want to do it again. And now I have all these things. So yeah, I would just suggest like definitely trying something out before, unless, I mean, if the buy-in is really low, if it's like, I want to see if I like working with foam, if I want to make foam armor, like buy a little bit of foam. Don't buy all the foam. Buy a little bit of foam and see if you like it.
Go
And,
to Harbor Freight and get the
yeah,
cheap
and,
foam.
Yeah.
and that's the thing about being in the community because I mean that's. Yeah, I remember one of my first panels, and I was on the panel with the guy with the $5,000 3D printer, and I'm at the roll the duct tape and the expanded foam. So it's so there's that. But products overall, you just remember that if you're building something like with a head or something like that, air. There's a great video of Nerdist where they show them building a Rancor, thousands of dollars, hundreds of hours. It looks fantastic. They forgot ventilation. And you can only wear it for 10 minutes and almost died. Okay. I always remember that because whenever you were working with someone, it's like, can you breathe? That's important.
I mean, to that end, breathing. I don't love working, if I can get around working with a material that's super toxic, if there's something else that's less toxic to me that'll get the job done, I prefer that. I try to think about like the warning labels on things. That's because I work in my house most of the time and like my pets are in the house. I'm also a person who breathes and lives and I'd like to keep it that way. So, like E6000 glue it's super toxic. Barge cement is super toxic.
that's-
However,
They work.
they can't be paralleled for certain purposes, and so I go outside and I wear a respirator. But there are other uses that I can use another glue for. So like,
In other words, safety is very
Yeah.
important.
Read
so
the back
make sure
of
you know
the
what
jar.
the material is that you're working with.
I don't love working with super toxic materials because I hate working with a respirator on, and I hate having to go outside. I'm lazy. I
And
just like to be
that's
inside.
a lot of people are watching, and that's the panel I usually do is the product review, and it's turned into more of like a safety panel of here's all the safety equipment you need. Harbor Freight, $16, organic respirator, and some of this stuff blows up too, by the way. So we haven't blown anything up
don't-
yet, but
I guess that's another like hazard, like when you're getting started, like if you're gonna start mixing things together, like chemical reactions occur if you're mixing
Yeah, it's
solvents
kind
and
of, I know.
adhesives and things. So do a little bit of research on what you're doing.
well, I think the great thing is though is on the internet now there's a lot of great builders online who have videos now that can go over a lot of the basics and things that you need to know about.
I've also
Some
seen
of
plenty.
some of the rather well-known builders too, like Evil Ted and stuff.
Yes, the Evil
They
Ted.
have YouTube videos
great
with
Yeah,
examples
resource.
of how to do things.
You have Evil Ted. You've got I can't pronounce her. Kamui cosplay. She posts her first cosplays, so you can see
The process.
because she's like the top of the game in building.
Do you know
and-
Kamui who developed Warbler?
Oh, really? That's fascinating. That's another thing, like thermoplastics, Warbler, Wonderflex, things like that. They are expensive. You may enjoy working with them, you may not. I prefer foam to thermoplastics, and other people are the complete opposite. But you can buy like test sheets of them and see if you like them. You can get a little piece of it and play with it.
Keep an eye on Michaels. They're the ones that run they have some sales. So catch me later. We'll tell you about some cheap products.
Is there anything you work with that you hate? That's our last question.
Y'all pretty much said everything. Just do your research. YouTube is your friend. You can find everything there. Just do your
Have
research.
fun. If it's not fun,
And I will tell you, anybody can send a message to Cosplay Collective, and I've worked in costuming for about 35 years. So I've used just about everything, so I can give you some ideas.
And they do build days and things, so you can get together with other folks and kind of do that thing that I was talking about, where you can like try their tools and like
you
see
can
how
learn
it's
to
done, and that's
learn
super
different ways
helpful.
to make this.
Yeah.
I know both of us have shops now, and so we have different tools and different setups. I live in the middle of nowhere though, so it's a long drive for you, but you're local, a little bit more local. So we love. So,
Did that help? Was that at least half? Okay, half helpful is what I aim for. All right. Thank you all for being here. This was lovely. It's nice to see all of your faces on a Sunday at a weird time. I appreciate that. Happy Halloween. Have a safe Halloween, whatever you're doing. And I'll see you next time. Mwah! Mwah!
Find a